Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story that, well, it feels ancient, but it hits incredibly close to home for how we live right now. We're unpacking this brilliant modern fable called The Keeper of the Border Fortress. Through this, we're really going to explore the heavy emotional weight of setting boundaries, the hidden toll of chronic people-pleasing, and what it actually takes to break free when you feel totally trapped by other people's expectations. So if you've ever felt completely overburdened by life, stick around, because this is absolutely for you.
Seriously, have you ever felt so overwhelmed by the relentless demands of everyone else that you just wanted to drop everything and walk away? We're talking about those heavy expectations from family, the intense pressure at work, or just the endless needs in your relationships. It's that feeling where literally everyone wants a piece of you, and you've got absolutely nothing left in the tank. Keep that exact feeling in mind, because that is exactly what the protagonist of our story is dealing with today.
Okay, let's dive into Section 1, the Four Kingdoms. Let's set the scene and map out exactly where our keeper finds herself. So the keeper in our story lives in this lonely stone fortress, and it's perfectly centered right between four incredibly demanding territories. Down to the south, we've got the Kingdom of Blood. These are your family ties, right? Messengers are constantly showing up with ledgers, debts, and old promises, literally knocking on the gate saying, hey, you owe us loyalty. Then up north, it's the Kingdom of Marriage. This is where allies and critics sit up on the walls, just watching her every single move, judging how she speaks, how she dresses, constantly evaluating her worth. Out east, you have the Sea of Distant Lands. That represents the glittering possibilities of a different future. Ships, opportunities, and those haunting, unanswered questions. And finally, out west is the Forest of Memory. The trees there are just whispering with old wounds, childhood loneliness, and years of past struggles. So our keeper is standing right smack in the middle of all four of these intense psychological pressures. And that brings us to this really harsh, unavoidable irony. Every single one of these kingdoms completely believed that the fortress belonged to them. They felt so entitled to it, acting kind of like really demanding toddlers, to be honest. Everybody wanted something from her. But what do they actually do? Absolutely none of them step up to volunteer and stand watch at night. Everyone expects her service, everyone demands her time and her energy, but literally no one is helping her protect the very place they claim to care so much about. Which brings us to Section 2, carrying the heavy burden. Since she's getting zero help, let's take a look at what her exhausting daily reality actually looks like. Because no one else will stand watch, she just stays awake. Her chore list is, frankly, staggering. I mean, she's repairing walls, balancing the accounts, negotiating these complex treaties, and constantly running around putting out fires. Honestly, just saying that list out loud is exhausting, right? Imagine actually living it. She is stretched way too thin. She's hyper-competent, sure, but she is operating at absolute maximum capacity just to keep these surrounding kingdoms happy and keep the fortress from crumbling. But here's the real tragedy of being that competent. She got so incredibly skilled at carrying all these burdens that the kingdoms actually forgot she was even carrying them at all. Because she handled the absolute chaos so seamlessly, her internal struggle became completely invisible to everyone demanding her time. And we see this in real life all the time, right? When you're always the reliable one, always the one fixing everything, people just stop seeing your effort. They just assume it's easy for you. But, of course, no one can sustain that kind of pace forever. That brings us to Section 3, the relentless storm. A breaking point is totally inevitable, and here it arrives as this brutal, unforgiving winter storm. The winter storms just do not let up. Messengers are arriving from the Kingdom of Blood, the Kingdom of Marriage, the forest, the sea, all of them hitting her from every direction at the exact same time. The fortress literally starts shaking under the immense pressure of it all. Pushed completely to her absolute limit, the keeper climbs up to the highest tower, and she just stands there at the edge, looking down at the dark sea below. And for the very first time, she genuinely wonders if she should just leave it all behind. Her mindset right in this moment is absolutely crucial to understand. What she truly wanted was not destruction. She wanted silence. She wanted rest. She just wanted someone else to stand watch for a little while. It wasn't that she hated the fortress, and it wasn't that she hated herself. She was just fundamentally, bone-tiringly exhausted. Her desperation wasn't about wanting to end things. It was just this massive, screaming craving for the noise to finally stop and for those burdens to be lifted, even if just for a second. And this brilliantly illustrates our next point. Let's move to Section 4, the breakthrough realization.
Because standing up there alone on that high tower, looking at that dark sea, she experiences a truly profound psychological shift. We can call this the dawn of ownership. This sudden realization hits her with total clarity. Like dawn breaking right through a heavy fog, the fortress had never actually belonged to the kingdoms. It belonged to her. That is a massive cognitive breakthrough. She is finally separating the endless, loud demands of everyone around her from the actual, true ownership of her own life and her own space.
And this right here is the exact moment she reclaims the fortress. She realizes the truth. The walls are hers. The gates are hers. The keys are hers. They don't belong to the messengers, and they definitely don't belong to the critics sitting on the walls. She dictates who comes in, and she dictates who stays out. Period. Now this creates a really powerful framework for setting actual boundaries. Because we have to acknowledge reality here. The kingdoms, they can still demand entry. They're still going to complain and gossip and try to negotiate with her. The external pressures of life are not going to magically disappear just because you set a boundary. But, and this is the absolute key takeaway, they cannot claim ownership. They completely lack the authority to control her core piece. So, armed with this, we enter Section 5, Protecting the Fortress. The keeper begins her descent back down the tower, stepping right back into the reality of the raging storm outside. The storms hadn't stopped. The kingdoms hadn't magically changed their demanding nature. But the difference is, she no longer mistook their demands for her destiny. It's such an important realization. Just because someone brings you an emergency or dumps an expectation on you, it absolutely does not mean it is your life's purpose to fulfill it. Her evolution here is profound. Her old mindset was all about trying to save the kingdoms, constantly fixing their ledgers, putting out their fires, basically living entirely for their approval. But her new mindset? It's all about protecting the fortress. For the first time in years, she starts her day not by trying to save everybody else, but by actively guarding her own boundaries. She shifted her primary focus away from managing their chaos and toward fiercely protecting her own peace. And the author of this powerful narrative leaves us with this deeply validating note. They wrote, "This metaphor doesn't read to me as the story of someone who wants life to end. It reads more like the story of someone who has been standing guard for too long without relief. The recurring wish is often not, 'I want to die,' but 'I need this burden to stop. This is my story.'" That kind of raw honesty directly connects this fable back to our own reality. It validates that really profound, often invisible exhaustion of standing guard for everyone else while totally ignoring yourself. So think about your own life right now for a second. Who is standing watch at your fortress? Are you standing up there completely alone? And most importantly, are you mistaking the endless demands of the people around you for your actual destiny? It just might be time to remember who actually holds the keys. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope you start protecting your fortress today.